For those who are new to the term, wet TNT is a new tech that works in 1.21.2 and upwards. It's an exploit that makes TNT touching water on the side blow up blocks without damaging items. This was almost possible in previous versions of the game, but not quite. There are a few different TNT techs that allow to blow up blocks without killing items. We need to take a look at them and understand them properly to see why wet TNT is an issue while the other techs are not. Because this video is a response to all the comments left under my video saying that this mechanic should stay. Wet TNT is broken as fuck, and if you can't see it, you're retarded. And if you can see it, I will show you why I think it is. Here's our old TNT tech before 1.21.2. The normal TNT, as you typically know it, TNT blows up blocks and it destroys items. The obsidian tube, corner TNT, or obsidian counter. This one is probably the weakest of them. Placing TNT in a corner like this allows TNT to blow up blocks without killing items. However, it comes with a downside. The range and blast angle of the obsidian tube is very limited. This makes it only viable for blowing up streams of blocks like what's used in cobblestone or tree farms. This is where you'll typically find these. Block 36 TNT. Block 36 TNT is the best TNT tech, or should I say, was, until wet TNT was introduced. It relies on placing a TNT inside a block and moving the block at a precise timing. This breaks blocks while not killing items. This tech is somewhat fast and it blows up blocks in a wider angle. It can even be improved by sending the TNT further out like so. This is a branch of Block 36 TNT called Bridged Block 36 TNT. The downside of bridging the TNT like this is that it's slower and more costly. Now these two advanced TNT setups have one thing in common. They blow up blocks while not killing items. But they do damage the items. Although you typically don't think about items taking damage, items have a health bar, like the player. Each item has 5 HP, that's 2.5 heart. Each time you blow up TNT and you don't take a direct blow, the TNT deals 1 HP of damage to you, and it's the same for items. So all the TNT techs I showed you allow for blowing up the TNT 4 times next to items. After a 5th blow, the items die. But wet TNT changes this. Wet TNT can be achieved simply by aligning a TNT against a chest and blowing up the TNT while it ever so slightly touches a little bit of water. And once you do this, you can blow up as many TNTs as you wish. The items don't take a single heart of damage anymore. If you look at this, we basically got a setup that performs similarly to Block 36 TNT, except it's far simpler, cheaper, faster, and it doesn't kill items no matter how many hits they take. I say this is overpowered and needs to be reverted. All I want is to have wet TNT do 1 HP of damage to items. This makes wet TNT still usable, still reasonable, and still viable. However, many people commented on my video about this that Mojang should keep the mechanic in. I disagree and will spend the rest of the video stating why. Let me make this clear again. What I wish for Mojang to do is to make wet TNT do 1 HP of damage to items like all the other cool TNT techs. I'm not against TNT touching water blowing up blocks but not killing items. This can stay, I'd be okay with this. What I am against is the current way wet TNT works. It needs to damage items like the other cool TNT techs in order to be balanced, in my opinion. Alright, the explanation of each TNT tech is done and my position on the subject is clear. Now we can tackle every argument made to keep wet TNT in the game as it is. You enjoy TNT duping because it makes your life easier, but you hate on wet TNT when it makes your life easier too. The reason why I and most of the technical Minecraft community enjoys TNT duping is because it's the only truly viable way to break and collect blocks. But don't just take my word for it, let's actually take a look at other ways to break and collect blocks. The most common replacement for TNT would be withers, and I only see them used in tree farms by trapping withers inside bedrock. You can take advantage of their ability to break blocks in a cube shape around them. You can push blocks under them, then damage them, and they'll break blocks under them. This is a somewhat decent replacement, but it requires you to neatly push blocks under a couple of withers to sustain a fast blow of blocks, And each wither needs to be contained in bedrock, which means it's restricted to the nether roof, where you'll have to break a lot of adjacent bedrock just to do this. So you're looking at a few hours worth of job here. Gas are another possible replacement. It can be held in a specific position that allows a player to make them generate stationary fireballs. These can then be whacked by the player to send them to destroy blocks. These fireballs are very weak though. They will require that we move the targeted blocks just so we can blow them up. Otherwise, the fireballs don't break them. The reason for moving blocks is that moving blocks are significantly easier to break with explosions than if they stand still. Following the gas, we have creeper blast chambers. You can make a mob farm that sorts creepers and forces the creeper to explode and blow up blocks. This is perhaps a little bit easier to achieve than using gas, but it will require you to set up the creeper farm to supply the creepers next to your farm. Creepers also don't drop 100% of the blocks they break, which is again a very bad downside. So it's no surprise that most people against TNT duping will choose to use crafted TNT instead. This will require way more complicated farms that allow for block outputs conversion into a block stream that can be handled by a TNT efficient blast chamber. You can get around 240 blocks with a single TNT using these blast chambers. The farms hooked up to them are always slower though, due to the difficulty of splitting the block output into several block streams to go to several blast chambers. We then have the headache of getting that crafted TNT that we slowly deplete. You can make a creeper or a gas farm to supply the gunpowder, which will require you to spend more time sitting next to a farm doing nothing. Mob farms are not playerless. They're not like my nether tree farms which you can turn on, leave, and go do whatever you want 10,000 blocks away and still get your resources. Mob farms need you to stay 128 blocks close to them, and unless you perfectly spawn-proof the entire area around the farm, you'll have to stay at a precise AFK spot and not move around at all. So much for the gaming experience, right? Commercial time, not for NordVPN or I don't know what, but for the Technical Resources Archive. This is a Discord server I made to archive all of the relevant redstone resources that can serve to make farms and other contraptions. Having all these resources at your disposition will help you improve your skills very fast. The link for the server is in the video description. Now, as for sand gathering, which way will you go? Are you going to use a sand duper? I mean, sand duping is the best option here. But if you're against TNT duping, I imagine you're against the duping part, right? So you wouldn't use a sand duper because it's duping again. You can make the point that the problem with TNT duping is more so the lack of value accorded to each TNT, and that the duping is not the issue in and out of itself, but the reckless way it's used. I mean, I can see why you'd be against spamming TNT for not having to treat it like a limited resource. But if you're against all duping of any kind, you don't have access to sand duping to get the sand to craft TNT. So now you're left with collecting sand from deserts. So now you have to dig sand for hours to supply your farms with TNT. Not only that, but you're removing the sand from each desert you dig too. At some point you'll have to fly 100,000 blocks out just to gather sand. That's not a realistic replacement for TNT duping, in my opinion. I don't really have to talk about the following topic, but I think it's worth talking about. Husks dropping sand. Many people have suggested over the years that Mojang should implement husks dropping sand to make sand renewable. I think that's a terrible idea. It's boring. What's the fun in another mob farm? Are you not tired of mob farms? They're all the same. You make a big platform in a specific location, maybe have some type of way to control for only one mob spawning, then you send the mob to a kill chamber and get the drops. And you have to do this for how many mobs? You gotta have the pigman farm, a magma cube farm, another separate frog and magma cube farm for frog lights, a blaze farm, a wither skeleton farm, a gas farm, a general mob farm, a dedicated spider farm to get the spider eyes, a drowned farm, a guardian farm, a slime farm. Now you wanna add a husk farm to the list? They're all the same farm. They all work basically the same, except they force a constraint that does nothing but eat your time by forcing you to build the exact same farm, but in another place in the world. Just because you change the spawning platform a little bit or lure the mobs using a different technique, it doesn't mean that you created a brand new challenge. You created another chore. There's no creativity in mob farms. Implementing husk dropping sand would be a terrible and boring way to implement renewable sand. So let me give my own suggestion instead. Make renewable sand work by crushing stone with anvils. I saw a video of a carpet rule doing that once, and I thought that was the best implementation of renewable sand. You crush stone to make sand, that's logic, and it makes stone generators less boring as it gives them more use. It would also allow for good flexibility, as crushed stone farms could be made anywhere, make a lot of sand per hour, and be run without a player. They would be exactly like sand dupers, but without duping, making them logically reasonable. I could add that gravel could be implemented in the same way, with cobblestone getting crushed by anvils. This would remove the need for a pigman farm, followed by a piglin borrowing farm to get the gravel renewably. The borrowing farm is okay, I think, but it needs the pigman gold farm to actually run, which is why I think that crushed cobblestone gravel farm would be a better replacement. Okay, back to TNT duping. As we talked about earlier, the only viable replacement for TNT duping on a wide spectrum is non-duplicated TNT. And as I explained it, the process of getting and using TNT legitimately is not enjoyable. It requires a lot of grinding, which is not the enjoyable part of the game for people making farms. People make farms because they enjoy building and experimenting with redstone, over grinding for hours to get to the same point. Renewability is also a big deal when we talk about farming. One of the things that's enjoyable with farming is that you get to keep the world around you intact while you get the resources in a sustainable way. You can go around digging for sand to craft the TNT, but you'll find yourself erasing all the desert biomes around you. But that's stripping away the beauty of the land you stand on. I'm not a fan of that. Hey yo, who put that on screen? Fire that guy! That was my case for TNT duping. Now, we need to see how wet TNT is crossing the line of reasonable TNT duping. TNT duping is often portrayed as boring and abusive by its haters. People against TNT duping will say that it's easy to just spam TNT and gather loot, but they fail to internally acknowledge how much the TNT duping methods vary. Surely, if it was brain-dead stuff, there wouldn't be a need to have a bunch of different setups for different situations. I think a brain-dead thing is brain-dead because it can be easily applied in any scenario. TNT is not so brain-dead actually. You have multiple ways to make use of the TNT, even though it's duplicated. You can see blast chambers for block streams often use drop TNT every second and a half to blow up blocks. Some will use the obsidian tube to blow up less blocks but more often. Other types of farms will use different TNT harvesting methods. Most farms for noobs will use TNT landing on top of obsidian to blow up blocks while protecting all the items under the obsidian. In the case of high output nether tree farms, the output of blocks can be so massive that it takes something like multiple Block 36 TNT modules to blow up all the blocks at a very fast speed. And in all of these scenarios, there is a different specific use of TNT that is the best adapted solution. Using Block 36 TNT modules in a beginner farm would be overkill, too expensive and complex for these players, even though it technically is the best solution. But now, if we bring wet TNT into the picture, we remove this balance. There are no longer different setups more suited for one approach over another. Wet TNT will be applied everywhere because it can be fast, flexible, compact, cheap, and all of that without even a possibility to kill items. This is the part that kills me. We can't pretend that wet TNT is balanced when it only has upsides on every tech without any downside. Many people have stated that they liked it because it was more accessible. They liked how easy it was to use. They think it's a good thing. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would be good that getting a full netherite suit was as easy as to get the iron suit? Of course not. Netherite is valuable, not only because it's good, but because it's the hardest armor set to obtain. Now replace netherite with wet TNT, and all the other TNT techs with iron. You have the equivalent of the netherite armor for the cost of the iron armor. There isn't a world where this can be considered balanced. This is not real life where we just want to make everything easier. This is a video game. We play to face some challenges that are designed to be hard enough to be difficult, but easy enough so we can overcome them. The way the old TNT worked was good because it made you choose between different pros and cons. If you introduce something without any con, you make it irrelevant to opt for anything else. Instead of making the game more diverse in options, you narrow it down. Instead of having a bunch of different setups of different styles, you make a soulless one-size-fits-all option that can't ever be competed with by anything. What if this stays in the game? Well, in a year or two, every new farm using TNT duping will use wet TNT to an even crazier extent than the old farms used normal TNT. Instead of seeing farms that use TNT like this, you'll see farms that look like this.
No. Wait.
It's not fun for the designer, it's not interesting to watch for the viewer, and it's diluting the essence of item farming by removing fun manageable challenges and forcing a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter tech. Wet TNT is bad. Another argument that will come up here and there is this. This is a sandbox game, bro. Why do you care, bro? Just don't use it, bro. There are many flaws with that common argument. Let's read the definition of a sandbox game on Wikipedia, shall we? A sandbox game is a video game with a gameplay element that provides players with a great degree of creativity to interact with, usually without any predetermined goal, or with a goal that the player sets for themselves. Such games may lack any objective. This definition states that a sandbox game is defined by a lack of predetermined goal, not a lack of challenges. Despite being a sandbox game, Minecraft has challenges. You can gather resources while avoiding getting killed by monsters or your own stupidity in the goal of building a house, a village, or an empire, anything. You choose that goal for yourself, yet the game imposes challenges on you, such as the scarcity of some resources, the strength of monsters around you, and the environmental dangers that can lead to your death, such as falling, drowning, burning, and starving. These challenges are part of the game by default, and create an environment that is balanced around challenging the player enough to keep them going, but not too much that it would make them give up. This philosophy is applied in all spheres of any game that exists. When things are not well balanced, people grow hatred for the game features responsible for that. It's the responsibility of the game developers to make all features balanced. But you can choose not to use the thing you don't like, bro. This argument fails to recognize competition. In fact, I don't think it's ever made in honesty. I think it's a disingenuous argument made to ignore an uncomfortable point. I'm going to lead you on a secret that the elite Jew pedophile blood-drinking, children-sacrificing, super wealthy lizard people don't want you to know. I, and everyone else posting farms on YouTube, are competing for the best possible contraption. We all publish content that we think is better than someone else's. We must use the best tools available to us to make the best product possible for any potential user. That means that if someone made a good farm that uses no cheaty techniques, and that I can use cheaty techniques and get ahead, I will do it. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. Others will do it if I don't. And I want Wet TNT erased because it removes all the creativity that comes with competing with other people. What is the best nether tree farm core possible? Either a big one that pulls stems out from the sides, or one that pushes the stems up out of the core. What is the best shulker box loader layout? This works, and this works. None is really better than the other. But what is the best TNT tech to use for a farm? Well now, it's always gonna be wet TNT. It's boring and it's brain dead. And now the final argument that really pisses me off. Okay, but why do you think the game should be adjusted for a small portion of the people who make farms instead of the people who use the farms? Because we are the people that deal with this. We have our fun removed. And you, the users, are just getting the fruit of our free labor. You matter less because you only take, you don't give anything. The people using farms are already well served. They already have access to a bunch of beginner-friendly farms for noobs and more advanced farms for tryhards. Yet some are complaining with a full belly. You greedy fucks just want more drops per hour, even if it devalues the fun of the game. You're biting the hand that feeds you. You're okay with ruining the fun of the people who build the stuff that you can get for free because it would make things simpler for you. As if you had it rough previously. Look at ENXO4's farms. They're already super good and beginner friendly. And you're still asking for more? You want things to get even easier. Bro, that's too much. You gotta leave challenge in the game. If you make everything easy, everything gets boring. The fun of farms is not linked to the rate it makes. It's linked to the return on investment you get for building the farm. Building an easy farm should give you a small return, and an advanced farm should take a lot more effort and yield a lot more loot. If we can't recognize what makes balance in a game, we're doomed to dilute it until it becomes bland and boring. But I'm not done. You greedy ass noobs want to have a change done in the game when it changes how we play, not you. That's right, you selfish bastards. We make farms. You don't. Stay the fuck out of this discussion. We don't need your opinion on the matter. We make the farms. We get to decide what makes farms good or bad, not you. You don't design farms. All you do is follow a block by block tutorial on a machine you don't even understand. I'm happy to make contraptions for other people to use. But to have them try and tell me what I have to like or not is like a stab in the back. You disingenuous fucks frame this as me wanting to dictate how everyone plays the game, when in fact, you try and dictate how me and the community should play because, to repeat myself, you greedy fucks just want more drops without any care of what it's like to design farms. You want to change how I play, not the other way around. Don't even try framing this in your disingenuous ways again. Designing farms is what technical players like myself do. We are the ones touching that gameplay. The only reason that you get to use the farms we use is because we designed them for you. If you're not happy with the rates of your farm, how about you stop following some dog shit creator that pump a lot of crap for money? I know you're following block by block tutorials from channels that don't give a fuck about showing new competitive designs. You follow a day 6 tutorial and complain about the slow rates? Bitch, you chose a bad farm. If you picked someone who cared about posting quality, you wouldn't be there. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna join TMC catalog with the link in the video description. They archive good farms. Pick farms they archive instead of whatever crap you usually build. If that's not enough, well, I'm gonna repeat a point that might be familiar to you. What do you care how others play? Don't try and change the game just for yourself, selfish motherfucker. How about you add some comments in the game, making the rates of your farm twice as fast? After all, why would you need to tell me what my gameplay should look like when I design farms? Just artificially increase the rates on your end. I wouldn't tell people what to do with the PvP of this game, because I don't do PvP. I wouldn't tell people what to do with the parkour of the game, because I don't do parkour. But when you don't even belong to a community and try to speak for it, you poison it. And I take offense in that. Respectfully, you don't do farms. Stay in your lane. The mere fact that you use the farm doesn't grant you the right to dictate how we will have to make them. You already have it good. You have plenty of good farms around. Don't get greedy for higher rates. You're poisoning the game for us. If we want to make wet TNT balanced, we need just one thing. Just make it do 1 HP of damage to items. That's it. The 50,000 stems per hour nether tree farm will be gone. The 7 million logs per hour spruce farm will be gone. And we will prevent more abuse like this from happening. It could get removed altogether too. I'm not against that. But if people like it, make it possible. But do it with 1 HP of damage to items. I'm fine with that. And if we want to make tree farms faster while still balancing wet TNT, there's one more very simple thing we can do. Add a damage cooldown to item entities. This would mean that block 36 TNT could be even better, and wet TNT could be very close to as good as it is right now, even after making it do 1 HP of damage to items. It doesn't have to be a 10 game tick cooldown. We would be happy with even just 1 game tick. I'll make a new poll to see what people think of wet TNT shortly after this video goes public. You can give me feedback on there if you want. And I'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching. Bye.